Rack of lamb. This is the ultimate dinner party showstopper. It's glamorous, it hits the table, it's got that wow factor. We're gonna season it, sear it, and then put this beautiful basil crust on it. Enhance the flavor, let it rest, and slice. There's hardly any fat. The fat is all along the line of the bones, inside this nut of meat. This is what they call French trimmed. Your butcher knows how to do it within seconds. It'll take you hours to ask for it to be French trimmed. Lightly season it. I say lightly because we're going to be putting the most amazing, sort of almost like a breadcrumb mixture on the outside, which will be again seasoning. So it's almost like we're seasoning it twice. Salt and pepper. The secret behind cooking lamb, especially of this quality, is in the actual searing. There's hardly any fat in there. This fat is the only fat we've got to keep that lamb nice and moist. So, be gentle with the searing. In. Don't get the pan too hot. Roll that around. Again, my cast iron pan, 2 reasons. A, I let it rest inside the pan so that residual heat comes up and continues cooking it, but more importantly, it retains the heat and puts a nice flavor onto that lamb. Hold the bones up like that, place it into the pan. The bones are cold, okay, so it's a great way of gripping the lamb and making sure that you get everything seared. Now, the searing process, we have to be super careful, okay? We have to lock in those flavors. Now, the minute it hits the pan, you'll see it it tightens up, which is great. So, look, when I say gentle, I really do mean gentle. Too hard to sear at the beginning, you're gonna dry that lamb out. The secret behind any great rack of lamb is in the sear and the resting. Use the bones to get comfortable with the sear, turning it around, searing each end, literally 360 all the way around. Beautiful. Each side, top and bottom. Once we seared that lamb, we've locked in those flavors. Now, we've got that in there. A little touch of some fresh thyme. I like the thyme sort of lightness. Sometimes rosemary is a great second herb, but thyme goes brilliantly well with lamb. And it's a nice fragrant thyme as well. Touch of butter in. And then a couple of cloves of garlic. You want to hear that little sort of snack crackle and pop. Garlic, lightly crushed in. Now look what's happening to the lamb. Beautiful, fragrance. I'm using that thyme underneath as almost like a little bed to protect my lamb. Butter goes over, garlic, and we'll give them a really nice sear. Now, once you've got the cut on there, in to the oven. One little base, just to sear the back of that loin. And now they go into the oven, 4.5 to 5 minutes at 375. Now this lamb, for me, is all about the lightness. We've got that beautiful herb crust on the outside. There's no lamb choux, there's no red wine sauce to reduce for 4 hours. Lamb's gonna sit adjacent. Now, yogurt. Nice, thick, rich, creamy yogurt. From there, take your mint, and again, find the largest leaf and roll them up. And this lamb, for me, is all about the crust, because I want to keep that nice pink readiness running all the way through it. Mint rolled up. Let the knife do the work. Super sharp knife. I don't want to bruise the mint, okay? Bruising it turns it dark and oxidizes the mint. This is a really nice way of shredding mint. Razor sharp knife, and look, lift that up, turn it around, and chop it. But just chop it once. If I chop it any more than that, I'm gonna lose the goodness out. In to the yogurt. Now, I like seasoning. Touch of salt, touch of pepper, and the zest of a lemon. Again, scrape and roll. Scrape and roll. And that gives it a really nice citrusy, vibrant flavor to the yogurt. It sort of cools down the heat, because in a moment, we'll brush the lamb with mustard and get that incredible crust on there. Now, the secret of this dressing for the lamb, this will be done ahead of time. You know, the more you get done in advance, the better. Give that a mix up. Touch of lemon juice in there. In, squeeze. Not too much, because I don't want the yogurt to be too runny. I need a bit of substance. Now, this minty yogurt is so light and fragrant. It's a really nice way of eating lamb. Sauce, done. Check out my lamb. Now, look at that. Literally, seared gently. I mean gently. Got the colour. Lamb is still rare, but it's going to come out now. And whilst it's still nice and hot, take your spoon and just brush some of that fragrant butter over there. Now, don't discard that pan. Keep that pan there. Here's where we're going to put a little bit of heat in to the flavour. Take a brush, and I've got some really nice Dijon mustard. And what happens now is I just get the brush and start brushing my lamb. I do this twice. Once the lamb's nice and hot, what happens is that the actual mustard seeps through inside that lamb and sort of makes it a little richer, gets rid of the gaminess that comes from lamb and lightens up the actual texture. Let that sit for 2 minutes whilst the lamb's nice and warm, and you'll see the mustard sort of disappears. It almost soaks through and gives that nice little gentle heat into the center of the lamb. But with the crust on the outside, it sort of then starts to take on its own identity. But the mustard works beautifully, especially with the breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. Fresh breadcrumbs into the mixture. From there, fresh basil. Don't worry about cutting this up, because you'll see why in a minute. Fresh basil. Parsley. That gives it a really nice dark green colour. Touch of parmesan. And what happens now is that parmesan helps to season the breadcrumbs, but as it bakes in the oven, the crust stays on the lamb. Nothing falls off, and it's coated, so that crust gets super melted, and that helps stick to the side of the lamb. On with the lid, and then just pulsate, and then turn it on. Little shake. Now, off. Already that smell in there. Taste it, really important. A bit more cheese. And this is why, for me, the secret of these dinner parties is getting super close to your ingredients. Don't just follow the recipe. Dive into it. Taste it every step of the way. And you'll see the difference in the end results. Now, these breadcrumbs need to be made literally a week in advance. And we're using them for lamb on top of chicken, fish, beautifully done. Pulse. off, tap, lift out. Now, look. They smell incredible, but the colour is amazing. The nice thing about these breadcrumbs is that they can be done literally 2 or 3 days in advance. We're using them for lamb, but honestly, breading a beautiful chicken breast, even breading roasted cod, these crumbs just elevate that whole protein. Fragrant, delicious, and so versatile. I've even roasted scallops and finished them with those beautiful fragrant breadcrumbs on top. Now, lamb has rested. I'm going to take my brush again and literally brush around the lamb, very carefully this time, the second time. It's almost like putting a little coat of varnish on there. Again, in, and from there, take a tray. Lightly sprinkle your crumbs on there. Generously, okay? A little shake. Take your lamb by the bones. Roll your sides and then coat inside. Shake off any excess. Why? I don't want any lamb burning. But look at the colour of that lamb now. Now we know that lamb is still rare in the middle. And that mustard is steeped into the centre. So gently dab that down. Let's do the other one, shall we? Same again. Sit it on and back in. Sides. And not only is it a way of enhancing the flavour of the lamb, but it gives a really nice, fresh dimension. The crust will caramelise in the oven. It will protect the lamb, would you believe? And more importantly, it will give this nice aromatic flavour to that rich, silky, delicious taste you get from the back of the lamb. And here's the other thing. You know, inside that cannon, there's no fat. So this beautiful crust on the outside with that Parmesan cheese, the basil, the parsley and those breadcrumbs creates that nice little coating that sits brilliantly with that richness of the lamb. Now, some foil. I'm going to put that back into my pan. I want this to be a little sort of, almost like a cushion for my lamb. I don't want the direct heat overcooking the lamb. Shake off any excess, sit that in, bones up, double check, I've sealed it in, and then let the rest against the side. A little bit of foil onto the bones, and it just stops them from catching. Okay, we've upped the ante now in the temperature, so I want to keep those bones nice and clean. A little bit of foil, easy to lift out. Now, they go back into the oven for another 6 minutes. This time, I'm going to crank up the heat to 395, and that will lock in that crust and set on the outside of my lamb. You can take it to this stage with a crust on there, guests sit down, serve the appetizer. When those plates are cleared, lamb goes back into the oven. So this thing is done in stages in a way that it perfects the dinner party. You're not stressed out. And for me, the secret behind any great dinner party, you've got to enjoy yourself as well. So get this stuff done the day before, and literally on the afternoon before the dinner party, you can seal the lamb off, take it to this stage, leave it out at room temperature, back in the oven for 6 minutes. Now, vegetables. I've got my Thumbelina carrots. These are beautifully tailor-made carrots, and they're like little teardrops. They're so beautiful, so clean, so fresh. Carrots, turnips, and new potatoes. These are old boiled new potatoes that have been cut in half. They've been boiled for 6.5, 7 minutes, left to cool down in the water so they get really nice and starchy. We're going to caramelize the carrots and caramelize the turnips. The flavor of the carrots and the turnips together is incredible because you've got the earthiness from the turnips and that sort of sweetness from the carrots. Hot pan. Oil in. First off, literally, cinnamon into the pan, star anise into the pan, lightly season that. What I'd like to do now is start to make a sort of salted caramel. Why? Carrots are naturally sweet, turnips got that earthy flavor. Combine them both, it's mind-blowing, literally. A teaspoon of honey in, bring that to a caramel. I'm gonna roll my carrots in first, and then my turnips. Oh boy. So look, I'm starting to make that caramel. In go the carrots. Beautiful. Touch of seasoning. A little hint of garlic. That star anise lightens the load for these vegetables. It sort of gives it that nice sort of aniseedy, almost like they've been doused in Pernod. It's got that really nice fragrant touch to it. And now, in my turnips. And what I want to do now with these turnips is almost sort of caramelize them, scorch them, roast them. Now, again, it's a great way of cooking vegetables for a dinner party because literally 3 or 4 hours before you guests come, they're blanched in boiling water for 2.5 minutes, taken out and they're shocked in ice water. Out of there, they're drained and they're just left half cooked like this and you finish them in the pan beautifully. Now, carrots, turnips, caramelizing. Once that caramel goes nice and dark, then we'll hit it with a touch of butter and a tablespoon of stock. That'll help caramelize them and braise them at the same time. New potatoes. Beautiful non-stick pan. Potatoes have been sliced in half, and literally all we do is sit them down. So they sort of almost become like a sauté potato. It's the method I use all the time, especially after a big Sunday lunch with the family. It's the kind of thing that I love. Keep it in the fridge for 3 or 4 days. It's a great way of using leftover potatoes. Amazing. Salt, pepper, and I'm gonna leave them that side down now so they get really nice and sauteed. Now, look at that caramel. Look what's happening to my turnips. They're taking on the color, they're glazing beautifully, and it's like a sort of, it's like a toffee apple. That honey's caramelized with the salt. A little bit of butter in there now. You'll see the colors take on that incredible glaze. Beautiful. Once that butter froths up, hit that then with a couple of tablespoons of stock. And how do I get guests excited about just another carrot or just another turnip? Do something magical with them. Caramelizing them and put them through that sort of braising aspect and not flooding the pan and making sure that it's a little bit different to what they've seen before and tasted is really important. Now look at them, beautiful. I want them glazing. They just sat in that star anise and cinnamon and it's a beautiful contrast. Now potatoes, once we've got the color, turn them over. You can see you've got that nice crispy outside. The potatoes are cooked, by the way. These are leftover new potatoes sliced in half. 1 minute you can be sat eating them with minted butter. Next minute you can be sauteing them. Touch of butter, small amount in there, and that will just help finish that saute. Beautiful. Nice. Right, lamb. Out to rest. Really important. Beautiful. And look, got that beautiful crust. And that's just nice and pink. As it sits there for 2 minutes resting before we slice it, it's gonna relax. If I had to slice that right now, honestly, it's the worst thing I could do to that lamb. Slice it piping hot. Brace yourself, pace yourself, top up the wine, and get organized. If you rest the lamb, the flavor, mind blowing. If you slice it too hot, you've lost the magical moment. Now when we come to dress, plate. First on, your minted yogurt. 6 o'clock on the plate. Take a little spatula and literally just spread that over. And that just gives it that little sort of brush. Now from there, your turnips. Look at the colour of these. They're glazed. I'm going to go turnip, carrot, turnip, and finish with another carrot. It's so beautiful. Give me that beautiful star anise. I've cooked with that. And then literally the fragrance. Beautifully done. Glaze them nicely. From there, potatoes. Generous with these type of potatoes. They're crisp. They are incredibly silky, but packed with flavor. Now, the magical moment, the lamb. Slide off the foil. It will sharpen with a knife. Literally, 1, 2, 3. We don't slice on the outside of the bone, we go on the inside. That way we get 3 nice, beautiful, even lamb chops. The knife do the work, come in and punch through. Beautifully done. And look, it's got that beautiful bright green sheen. The lamb has rested. Through, and look, beautiful. I mean, really beautiful. On, number 1. Number 2, and go on. Get that third one on there. And then, you sliced and exposed that lamb, touch of seasoning inside, and literally hit the center. It's rested, it's beautiful, it's still nice and warm. That is a stunning rack of lamb with caramelized turnips, carrots, stoned potatoes, and a fragrant herb crust.